Hey Kerbal Space fans, this is Raw with my first .25 Kerbal Space Program video. So you might be wondering what this fugly thing is that's about to crash. And this is basically replicating a test I conducted to see all the new intakes in action and kind of make my decisions as to what I'm going to use and how I'm going to use them. So as you can see here, this thing is just a bunch of intakes holding hands. It's not really a plane. We have the new shock cone, the tried and tested radial engine body, the radial air intake, the nacelle. This is another new one, the Mark I fuselage with intake, and down here, the structural intake. So let's check these out. Let's see how they work. I'm going to right click on all of them, holding Alt, and that's going to give me all the readouts. So the first thing I noticed when I was doing this just for my own information was how, oops, let's do that again because I didn't click on that one, was how drag heavy the new shock cone is. I mean, look at that, it's over 1 unit of intake. Nothing else has that. The structural intake is 0.2, the radial amount is 0.5, the one here in the back 0.5 as well. The radial engine is still the king of low altitude with very good intake amount and 0 drag. And the nacelle has the same but with a little bit lower drag than some of its counterparts. So even though this thing is sucking in a tremendous amount of air, it's also by far the highest drag in the lower atmosphere. Actually, it's pretty much the highest drag anywhere. Okay. So I'm probably going to always run these closed and have them ready for the high atmosphere. See, the drag was cut way down. And this is at low speed. If I was going faster, this thing would have like 2.0 drag. It'd be ridiculous. These structural intakes are a bit of a question mark for me because, number one, no matter what I do, they never get to over about 35, maybe close to 40% intake. And the other thing is, when you turn them on and off, the ones around it seem to be affected somehow. See that there? But the number doesn't change. So I don't know if that's just a graphical bug or if this thing is more of like something that assists other intakes into getting more air, but the numbers don't show that, so I have no idea what's going on. I don't see myself using these very much. This one seems to be grabbing a lot of air, but also has higher drag than most of these. So let's kick up the speed a little bit and see how the drag increases. Now we're going to be moving at full throttle. We're still pretty low. We're still less than a kilometer off the ground. And as you can see, the drag on the shock cone goes way up. On the other ones, everything stays the same. The radial engine mount stays at 0. Love those things. The nacelles goes up pretty high. The radial air intake and the Mark I fuselage seem to share similar stats. Their drag is the same, their intake amount is pretty much the same. So those of you that are used to using these, if you don't want to have actually something on the exterior like that, you can use one of these. They're pretty much the same. I never used these to begin with, so I don't see myself particularly using these either. Radial engine mounts are still the best. They have fuel, 0 drag, good air intake at low altitudes is perfect. And this thing looks like, I mean, it has tons of drag, but the amount of air that it's sucking in is crazy. So let's drop our big drag generating ones. And let's head higher. So right now I'm just leaving the structural intake and the radial engine body on. And we are going to climb to the second layer of the atmosphere, which is where we spend most of our times burning like crazy when we do SSTOs. Okay, we're getting pretty close. I want to bring this down. And open that up so that we don't have anything shutting down on us. I have to pretty aggressively fly down to burn that upwards momentum. But here comes the prograde. Alright. There we go. Okay, so we're moving fast and we're flying high. Moving very fast. Let's see how these things are running. So let's make sure that everything's on. Okay. Now, first of all, the actual air intake on this fuselage is almost nothing. But the drag is at max. The radial is actually doing better than that one. The nacelle is doing really well. It has better intake than some of its counterparts. The radial engine body's pretty much lost it, but it still has, well, it's not open. It still doesn't get any air, but it has zero drag, so that's fine. But look at the amount that the shock cone is getting. The shock cone is the highest intake one at high speeds and high altitudes. So from what I'm seeing here, my favorite intakes and the way they're working for an SSTO are going to be the shock cone in the front, and either a nacelle and then a radial engine, or just a radial engine behind it and then the rocket. If I want to fly higher on the engines, I'll probably put a shock cone, radial engine mount, and a nacelle, and then the rocket. I'll demonstrate what that looks like. So using the new engine parts, the new spaceplane parts, I'm testing out new SSTO designs, and I designed this. So this is pretty much what I think is going to be most efficient based on the results that we just had. We have the new cockpit, which holds 2 Kerbals, because like I've always said, I want to have at least 2 guys there. Here, behind it is the probe body, or sorry, the drone core is what it's called. And that means it can fly back by itself. Here's the docking clamp, which now doesn't tear the plane apart. And one of the things I really love about the docking clamp in conjunction with the new cockpit is they have a lot of motor propellant. I mean, this one has 75, this one has 15. That's 90 units of motor propellant. You don't need to put any more motor propellant on it. It has enough to do all the docking and maneuvering you want. Here are high intake shock cores. Here are zero drag ones with fuel, and here are the nacelles. Now with this, we're basically running 6 intakes for 1 engine, and we don't have to add additional fuel tanks. This tank is the rocket fuel for the rockets, of course, and just from what the intakes have, we'll have more than enough fuel to get into space. I redesigned my compound wings. Those new control surfaces will let you blend them together, so it looks pretty awesome. And it, of course, already comes with the RCS. I like this new shape. We can put the RCS in the back. I was a little disappointed to find out that these are just cosmetic, because it looks like it has RCS thrusters in the front like the space shuttle used to. But that's just cosmetic. Now, another funny thing that happened with the new spaceplane parts is the bays. And the bays let you do some kind of interesting stuff. I will demonstrate. Wow, I sure thought about it. Okay. So, as you see, I am not going to do this at night. Before I do anything else, let's bring out the sun. Okay. So, pretty basic looking plane. The standard cockpit. These are fuel tanks, which I've taken out some of the oxidizer. I have these on there just so it looks cool, even though they're not by far the most efficient. And you can see it's a pretty standard plane. But this part in the middle is a bay. You might be asking yourself, why would you have a bay on this plane? And here's why. This allows us to now create VTOLs that are completely aerodynamically sound looking, at least when they're in level flight, because we can cover up those engines. Another thing I noticed when playing around with this, you guys remember I always put those rockets in the bottom to help move it up? Well, they got new flame effects, and they seem to be a lot stronger, because they really bounce this thing up into the air when I run them, more than before. I'm not sure if that's just that these planes are simpler and lighter now, so I get more bang for my buck, or if the thrust actually went up. I didn't, you know, get any good info on that. This thing's, that's why there's the almost no oxidizer in the other one, is because I used the oxidizer as ballast to balance it, so that it wouldn't be too crooked. But with these new bays, there's literally a million things we could try, from VTOLs to weapon systems to satellite delivery. I'm stoked. I also like the new little control wheels. As you can see, I have some in there. Here are the rockets. So yeah, with this, once we're gonna do, you know, straight and level flight, I have the engine and the bays toggled together. It just looks like a regular plane. It doesn't look like a VTOL at all. I also really didn't want to make it look like an SR-71. With these new parts, everything ends up looking like an SR-71, unless you make a point of not making it look like an SR-71. I mean, I don't have anything against that plane. That's one of the most beautiful planes in the world, but it's going to get old if all the planes look exactly the same, as mine have often tended to. So those are the two things I wanted to show you. Some of the new SSTO designs, the air intakes, and some of the tricks that we can do now with these cargo bays. There is one last thing I wanted to show you guys. This is kind of a work in progress. Quite a work in progress, actually. But, you know, I've never been one to play things too close to the chest. I like to show you guys everything that I have. So, here it is. I have captured an asteroid, put it in orbit around Kerbal, and I'm currently building a space station on it. So it has massive habitation modules. It's going to hold like 70 Kerbals. It has the labs. It has a docking place for the SSTO as a dock. It has another little command center down here with both the solar panels and like a little observation thing. More room for more Kerbals. I'm probably going to put something big and huge on this side too and just leave it like a 3-prong. That's what I was doing, but then the game decided to tear off one of my attachments and took the port with it, so I can't grapple it anymore. I'll have to bring something like that up and take it away. I don't know if it's going to let me do that, because it doesn't seem to even know that it's a separate part. Like when I try to bracket to it or to find it in the debris, it doesn't show up. So it's like it tore off, but it didn't. This part that looks like it's under construction, what that is these are the RCS thrusters. So the docking port is over here, and the RCS thrusters extend beyond it, and that's how I can maneuver these pieces better with the RCS without having to actually put RCS on the station component before docking it. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about before I go, thank you guys for your patience, is the Interplanetary series. So I filmed all of that before 0.25. So as I release the last 2 episodes, you guys will see pretty obviously that it's not the current version. And that's because I filmed all of those in about 3 days, and I've just been releasing one once a week to give me the freedom to goof off with the game and figure out what the next thing is going to be that I'm going to make a video about. I was thinking of making another episodic type thing about the capturing the asteroid and putting it in orbit, but after doing it, I don't think it's all that interesting. You basically just fly something like this to it. You know, it has all these grappling things, and it has some nukes, and whoops, and the old control wheels that got shrunk. And yeah, you sort of do a controlled crash into the asteroid, center the mass, and burn for sometimes 6 or 7 minutes at a time. So yeah, not a great spectator sport, but as soon as I finish assembling the station around the asteroid, I'll try to make it pretty spectacular. I'll make a video about that. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm going to post this video now and post this week's episode of the Interplanetary pretty soon. I'm not gonna you know, put this one here for this week's video and then just wait for the other one. I will put up the episode 8 this weekend and episode 9 next weekend. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. So thank you very much for watching again, and please fly safe and build some awesome new SSTOs with all these new pieces. Bye now.